Live. All right, people. Today, in this episode, we're talking about the Senate. So let me set the scene.
I'm ready.
If you remember back to our previous Quibbles Over Coffee episodes, we constantly are talking about innovations and things that we can do in this country to make our lives better and your lives better, but more specifically, our lives better. So, Jonah, do you want to talk about the trains for just a little bit? Talk about the
Talk
trains.
about the trains?
Yeah.
Oh my god! How much time do we have? Oh my god! I have so many opinions on the trains.
A two minute
spiel
of trains.
Okay, trains are better than cars. We hate the cars. They do not belong in my society. We should kill all cars and also all car people. I was mostly kidding about the second part, except for Henry Ford. He was a fucking Nazi. Yeah.
And so. And then you ask the question, what question do we constantly come to on this podcast where we run into the roadblock?
How did society get so fucked? Why is
that
society
one, but
so
what's the other question?
Oh, I thought that were...
The other question, yeah.
How can we fix it?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what question you're going for here.
Yeah,
okay.
How do we fix it? Yeah, and then I always say, we can't really because of the Senate.
Fucking Senate, Houston. Yeah.
And then we go on this rampage about why they hate the Senate. And so today, instead of talking about anything else, we're going on the actual rampage against the Senate.
We're ready.
And to do that, we brought on a special guest because it's a topic that's fit for everyone to rant about. So,
ladies and gentlemen, our Constitution guru, Eddie Hock.
Hello.
Hi all. Happy to be here.
So, yeah, we are upset with the Senate, and
why is it so fucked? How can we unfuck it?
Well, it's like probably the fucking filibuster mostly. Like not mostly, but in part. The filibuster is not like an intentional inclusion by the people who are deciding, the government, right? Like that doesn't exist in other governments. You don't need we have a bicameral legislature for a reason, right? But the point of the bicameral legislature is not to mean that like the House doesn't fucking get to do anything. Like,
yeah,
the Senate, of course, was not originally directly elected. That was a big problem. We got rid of that big problem because it was a big problem. We did that with a constitutional amendment, which is how we get rid of big problems. But we can't do that anymore because the Senate will never get anything done because of the filibuster. Filibuster is like a procedural hijink that got somehow enshrined as like a core institution of American democracy. It was like, originally it was like, people have to be allowed to talk and you can like overrule them if 60 senators are like, I don't give a shit, right? But when people like found like an exploit in the Constitution. This was pioneered during like the glory days of the Senate, which were like the 1820s with good old Henry Clay and John C. Calhoun and Daniel Webster.
The glory days where they literally hit each other. Yeah.
Yeah. By which I mean it was like great because people just like beat the shit out of each other. And they
Eddie, I would argue that's bad.
Literally,
democracy. I'd argue that's bad. But yeah.
Well, like, nobody died.
Yeah, but like someone was like,
I mean, like they did in
the
Civil War that followed, but yeah,
that guy got like for real brain damage. The guy got the shit beaten out of the cane. Was his name Daniel Preston? Something like that. Charles Sumner beat him up.
Daniel
Preston.
Ridiculousness.
Preston Brooks.
Okay.
I'm conflating Preston Brooks and Daniel Webster, but like. Yeah, basically, like, why I describe it as the glory days of the Senate is because the Senate was really doing everything the Senate does best, which is fucking nothing. And, it was really like padding these guys' political careers. There he is.
There he is, yeah.
That's good old Charles Sumner getting caned.
God.
By Preston Brooks.
Not ideal. God. I would argue that this is not the glory days.
Well, it is what I mean is you have, like, people getting torpedoed to enormous levels of national prominence, right?
Yeah.
By like I don't know, for just like giving very emphatic speeches that resulted in little to no legislation other than like the fucking 18th compromise that isn't really a compromise. It's just like we give more shit to slaveholders because they keep saying
like, saying that they want
here's what the situation is. Here's what the situation is, right?
Okay.
So suppose that there's some stuff going on, right? And like there's an amount of stuff and it has to be divided. Like, all right, well, it's a compromise. Let's give 50% of this to the free states and 50% to the slave states. And they're like, all right. And the slave states immediately, as soon as that happened, are like, we don't have enough shit. We have to make a compromise. And then they like take 50% of the free state shit and they give it to the slave states. And this is a gross oversimplification of what was actually happening. But like, I mean, they really just could not stop bending over backwards for these fucking scumbags run by John C. Calhoun, worst man in American history. Like, I mean, the Senate, there's a saying on the Hill, which is, if you're bad at this, you end up in the House. If you're good at this, you end up in the Senate. Right? But I don't think I agree with that necessarily. I think it might be true for like Republican Congress people, but I don't think it's true. I don't think it's true for normal people. Like,
I like how Democrat just means normal in this situation.
well, I'm talking also about
you have your Republicans and you have your normal.
We're talking about Bernie Sanders and Angus King and fucking Justin Amash. I don't give a shit. Like you have you know, like, I mean, and like historically, right? It might have been more true than it is now, even though you ended up with people like McCarthy in the Senate, right? Like, at least he was like charismatic, I guess, if you like really liked people fucking yelling about communists all day.
Yeah,
but like
the fucking communists. Yeah,
great McCarthy quote: "A communist is a rat, and you know what you got to do with a rat? You got to crush him."
Oh yeah, that's definitely
that's how rats work.
That's how rats work. Well-known rat crushing technique. I'm not sure if that's like an early Nixon quote. Hang on.
You know us New Yorkers love crushing them rats.
It's McCarthy. And there's a whole video of it, and he's got like a lock of hair like plastered to his fucking forehead because he is covered in sweat as he's giving this like unhinged speech about like why you have to summarily execute fucking all of Hollywood for being Jews. Like I mean, these people were like psychopaths, right? But when they say goodness, they mean like knows how to pass legislation, right? And there's fewer people in the Senate than there are in the House, right? And it's like a statewide election. You don't just have to get fucking like Marjorie Taylor Greene into office because everyone in your district is like a goddamn sociopath. But like, you know, I think that people also take the Senate more seriously. People donate more money to the Senate, right? I think once we establish campaign finance reform, the difference between Senate races and House races will stop being as stark as it is. I think people will start caring more about electing representatives because people pump unbelievable quantities of money into the DSCC and the RSCC. Yeah. Like NRSC, I don't remember what the Republicans call it. It's
whatever they're called. The Senate team for the
guys who make money. Yeah. And like they do a lot better of a job than the people in the House do. But it's like the Senate since its inception has made its goal to like hoard as much power as possible, which would be fine if they did anything with it.
Yeah, because they're in charge of like the cabinet, cabinet
appoint all the Senate committees. Yeah, the House is like the baby ass fucking.
It's like the toddler. Toddler table at Thanksgiving. You have all the kids sitting at a different table.
Like they fucking. But it's like they're both kids, right? But like some of the kids feel like they're better than the other kids, and there's like fewer of them at the table. And there's no parents.
There's no parents. Nowhere in the United States government are there parents. People used to think that the Supreme Court were parents, but then we got Brett Kavanaugh, and as soon as you have a Brett in the room, I'm sorry, but Brett is not a parent's name.
The Supreme Court are now like teen parents. Like you got like a big problem.
Oh my god. Okay. So we understand the filibuster. We understand that it shouldn't be a thing, but that it is a thing. How do we unfuck the filibuster?
We should explain what the filibuster is.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yes. Yes.
For those who don't know, the filibuster is there's a procedural quirk in Senate Rules of Order which says that people should be allowed to like finish a speech, right? as unless they get like 60 senators to be like, you've been talking too long, right?
Right.
And what this has resulted in is people basically, like, I don't know, it's like some kind of fucking no legislation gets passed speed run trick where they come up with like this way to abuse this procedural thing, which what happens is they will talk at length about nothing, right?
Yep.
Like, just keep talking. Like, I could go up and read like Wikipedia lists of earthquakes or something for like 2
Ted
hours.
Cruz read the Green Eggs and Ham book. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Or I could, go up and read like Colin Trevorrow's really bad episode 9 script that was like scrapped before the even worse final episode 9 script. Like, I could do that if I wanted. That script is bad. He makes Ray a robot. Ray is a robot in that one. That's why she has no parents. And also there's a bunch of like Snoke clones. Snoke has like cloned himself 50 times so that Luke Skywalker comes back from the dead and starts doing like a bunch of sick backflips and kills all the Snoke clones. Yeah, so like, you could just read some bullshit, or you can talk about like, I could talk about like why Pokemon is bad now or something. Like they really, what I mean, I'm not exaggerating when I'm describing what they talk about, right?
Yeah.
They don't like, they really talk about nothing. So it's a difficult situation.
Wait, hold on a second.
Wait, hold up. Yeah.
I'm kind of,
everything is lagging and being ridiculous. So let's just flip over. Houston, just continue the recording, but record it with just my normal face, and let's give up for now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's better.
Yeah, we'll just do this. Oh well, that's okay.
It's okay.
Things happen. We'll survive.
That's all right. We'll get past this. But yeah, anyway, they just read some nonsense for hours and hours and hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
And essentially, unless they can get 60 senators to be like, shut the fuck up, they
literally
they don't ever have to stop talking. So you can just keep talking until the Senate, adjourns and the legislation is tabled.
Yeah.
Right. You can't.
Which basically means that if something was going to get voted on, it's not getting voted on anymore.
Right. You can the only way to guarantee something gets voted on in the Senate is with 2 processes. One of which is called budget reconciliation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which, because of another procedural quirk, only requires a 1 vote majority. So, like the Senate we have right now is a 50-50 Senate. The vice president is the tie-breaking vote, right?
Right.
But any simple majority will win the day during budget reconciliation. But you can only do it like once a year. If you do it like more than once a year, Mitch McConnell starts talking about you breaking norms or something like that. So I don't really.
Is it unconstitutional, or is he just saying that it's breaking norms?
None of this is in the Constitution. It's all in the
Senate
resolution.
Yeah,
it's on the Senate Rules of Order.
Yeah.
Like,
so I don't really care if I'm hurting Mitch McConnell's feelings.
No.
I gotta be
nobody
honest.
does, or nobody.
Yeah.
I don't think Chuck Schumer does, but I think Joe Manchin does, and like I don't think he cares about hurting Mitch's feelings. I think that these people really believe somehow in like the sanctity of the Senate as a lawmaking body. I don't believe in that, but
I
they
want to clarify. I don't believe in that.
I don't believe in it either.
They think that it's the greatest deliberative body on earth is what people say. But like, if it's the greatest one, I don't want to say the other one. They just, well, that's the thing. Maybe it is because all they do is deliberate.
Oh, right.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
They never come to a conclusion. But
right.
I mean, essentially what it means is you need 60 votes to have a majority in the Senate.
Yeah.
Unless you can get this budget reconciliation thing to happen, which is how they're going to pass the COVID relief.
Yeah.
Because you only need 50 votes to do that.
Right.
And also, you only need 50 votes plus 1 to nominate or to like clear a nomination, right? You can't like filibuster like, and because of like, the budget resolutions are pretty complicated, but basically the only way to pass a real law that isn't just this guy gets to be in the government is you need 60 votes or you need this budget reconciliation thing.
Yeah, which is
only
ridiculous.
it can only deal with like budgetary stuff, right?
Yeah.
So like people have filibustered like renaming Confederate military bases, which eventually passed, right? But like and Trump almost vetoed. I think Trump did veto. What happened to that bill? They overrode the veto. I remember that. It went to Trump and he vetoed it because they renamed Confederate bases. So then they overrode the veto. And some people voted against the veto override because they didn't want to vote for aid vote for like funding the military unless they voted to like fund people.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So Elizabeth Warren who fought like tooth and nail to get her shit included in this bill. So it was now like, a better bill that it was, still voted against it as like a protest vote because she was mad that they were like, actually the only thing for the Senate to pass anything is you need 67 votes because the president can just veto it. Right? Like,
yeah,
the Senate can't unilaterally pass anything without a supermajority, and you need 60 votes to even pass anything, even if the president and the Senate are from the same party or agreement about some issue.
Yeah.
Like, the Senate does pass shit all the time. It passes like the fucking Feed the Troops Act and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like they get like budget stuff that they pass without consequence. They get like, giving themselves money that they pass without consequence. Even though the 27th Amendment says they can't set their own salaries, they can like avoid government shutdowns by just getting a majority. You can't like filibuster that kind of stuff. So the Senate and the House do pass all the time like resolutions condemning people who commit genocide and resolutions that like fund the army and stuff like that. So like Congress passes laws are passed, right? But like any big controversial partisan piece of legislation has no chance.
Right.
Interesting.
Unless you're going through
budget,
and that's nonsense, right?
Yeah.
If a party,
that should not be the case.
If the only thing you're getting done is passing budget reconciliation and like resolutions, you got an issue because then the president can't do anything with the budget,
right?
So you're relying,
law.
And so it's just like it's a negative cycle of just bad things that are happening all the time.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's just like I don't know. I think it's like if political parties are flawed already, right? That was not. I mean, it was not intended that there would be this two-party system when these things were written. There was never a two-party system in the Roman Senate, which is what the Senate is based on, right? Not only that, but the Roman Senate had like fucking 800 guys in it.
Wait, that's interesting. How did the Roman Senate get around
the Roman Senate
system?
obviously functioned very differently before and after Julius
the Empire,
Caesar.
Right?
Well, it was never formally an empire, is the thing.
Okay.
It was
before and after the emperor.
Yeah, no, I mean he was never formally called the emperor either, which seems like bullshit when you're looking at it now. But then if you look at the U.S., like a lot of things seem like bullshit if you're going to be looking at 2,000 years. You know what I mean?
That's a fair point. Yeah.
So it was always believed, or at least propagandized, that the Senate was pretty much in legislative control, right? They would appoint specific people to like big lawmaking positions, right? Like, there were aediles and praetors and quaestors and consuls who were the highest ranking, right? This was called the cursus honorum, the course of honor. So if you would get appointed to this stuff, and it would be like, like you have your big career and you ultimately end up as a consul, and then you retire. A retired consul is called a proconsul. They have a lot of privileges, right? So
they're still in the Senate?
Yes.
As a proconsul? Interesting. I didn't know that. Okay.
Senate were like lifetime appointments, right? You could retire. A lot of people ended up like retiring if they lost a civil war, if they hadn't been killed. But like, basically, there are about 300 years during like the Punic War period when the Roman Senate functioned very well, right? Because there was campaigning, but they all like internally did their elections basically.
Gotcha.
There was never like it wasn't. Everybody got a vote for Senate, but like you got proportionately less of a vote if you were like poor or not in the Senate already or something like that. So it was really like, this boys club. It was not like a functional, it was functional as a government, but it wasn't like democracy, right? But they had this all the stuff that they got together, and then they would pass laws, and like, they would talk about stuff, but like they didn't really, they factionalized very regularly. They would have factions that were pro and against particular issues, right? But like, I mean, imagine it more like the U.S. Senate as it existed in like the 20s and 30s, right?
Okay.
When it was
Okay.
not so much
they
about
had
partisan
two parties, but they didn't have.
They
the
didn't
parties
have
weren't as
formal
important.
parties. They never had formal parties, right? Because a party is like a fundraising organization, right? You join the party if they give you money to run your campaign, stuff like that, right? I honestly think campaign finance reform would go a long way towards breaking down the two-party system. But basically,
Go for it.
Go. You go.
Yeah, I was going to say that the reason that parties make sense is because the average voter isn't particularly informed, and so they make sense as a way to ensure that, like, I can, not necessarily knowing anything about this particular person, say, oh, this is a Democrat, this is a Republican, therefore I support this one.
Yeah, what it is it's a support system for your campaign.
Exactly. And so it's less important if you're in the Roman Empire or Roman Senate, because that's not someone it's not like the majority of people in the Roman Empire are actually voting on who's going to be in the Senate. And
I mean, the majority of people in the Roman Empire were not citizens, right? So they couldn't vote to begin with, right? And then on top of that, even if they could vote, they had like, it was like they had a giant electoral college, but it was like really blatant. Like if our electoral college was like, rich people get 3 votes and poor people get 1/10 of a vote, like that's more like what you're getting from the Roman Senate. But the thing is, like, Senate seats were apportioned and stuff, and it was a hugely, enormously corrupt institution, right? But the point is, like, if you were to look at the way our Senate was broken down, there were partisan lines, but they were not divided equally on issues, right? Like, for example, if today, Joe Manchin is kind of really like the last relic of this, right? Like, Joe Manchin is a partisan Democrat. He deeply distrusts the Republican Party. He's not going to switch parties, no matter what people, doom about on Twitter, right?
Just good.
But
I also deeply distrust the Republican Party. Yeah.
He's very pro-gun. He's endorsed by the NRA, right? He goes on, he has like, kind of syncretic political positions in that way, right?
Yeah.
And for a long time, that was the way with most senators, right? This election, we saw less crossover between presidential and down ballot race ever. Like the least ticket splitting ever occurred in the last presidential election.
Right.
Because the parties are becoming more and more. Actually, the Democratic Party is kind of like a big tent electorally, in terms of there's a lot of different kinds of people who vote for Democrats.
Yeah.
Right. And the Republican Party's electorate is becoming more and more homogenized. Whereas in the past, this was the opposite. Right.
Yeah.
Sure. But that being said, the Democratic Party ideologically in Congress is probably more unified than it's ever been. I would say that, like, the median Democrat in the Senate now is like pretty progressive, right? Not that progressive, but like progressive, right? Like supports a $15 minimum wage. Like, there are maximum 2 Democrats in the Senate who don't support a $15 minimum wage. That would have been unthinkable 10 years ago, right? And so when we're looking at, the state of politics as it exists right now, it can feel like what party you belong to really does say a lot about what your beliefs are, right?
Sure.
And that probably is true, right? But historically, that was not the case, right? What the two-party system did was it let you take advantage of these bullshit procedural things in the Senate. So when you were like running shit, you could really run shit. And when you weren't running shit, right, it was harder.
You really weren't running shit. Yeah.
Right. Like, for example, a lot of the Obama era reconciliation that we got, and this was true even 10 years ago, the stuff I'm talking about, because a lot of the, the Obama era policies that we now see is kind of like, man, why didn't they do more? Right.
Sure.
Happened because we had a Senate majority of 58 to 42.
Right.
So it was very enticing, the thought that you could get 2 Republican votes to override a filibuster if you did moderate stuff, which they did pretty frequently. That's why you get stuff like Dodd-Frank, right? Which was like a general consensus thing, instead of like restoring Glass-Steagall or something, which is a much more kind of effective version of the same bill, right? You got this stuff where they're doing this, like, they're trying to get these slim majorities, but the Democrats in the Senate at that time were hardly unified themselves, right? So you needed to get these conservadems like in on the votes, right? Like, I mean, right now we have Democratic senators from Montana and West Virginia, and like, I don't think any other red states.
Yep.
Right, because Doug Jones lost his seat.
Doug Jones.
The only reason Doug Jones won was because his opponent was literally a pedophile.
People who are like, yeah.
And he only barely
Doug
won.
Jones
He
is such a
didn't even
strong
win by that
candidate.
much.
There's
He
like,
is-
oh my God, we won on
He
the
would
back
have
of
made
like
a good
black
attorney
women or
general.
whatever.
I will say he would have made a good attorney general. He would have made a good attorney general.
Okay, maybe, but like the idea that he like
No, he was
won
not special
that
sauce. He was
based on
not
his
special
own
sauce.
merit, or that he was like this really impressive candidate.
I mean,
no,
the fact that
he was
barely,
running against a fucking pedophile. That's
the
the
fact
only
that
reason
he barely beat this like open pedophile was really wild. Who has still not conceded, by the way.
Is he seriously still not conceded?
He has not conceded. He still maintains that he won that election. The pedophile.
That's
6 years
genuinely
ago?
crazy.
Yep. Good old Rimmer,
Trump is
3
going
years
to
ago.
pretend that he won in 24 when he runs
Yeah.
again.
Oh yeah, he is.
Yeah.
But I mean, the
It's rigged, but I have to run again because that's the only way to
dream,
unrig it.
I mean, the dream scenario is he runs on a third party and the Republicans never win.
If
the
he runs
election
third
again.
party, I will be very happy camper.
I'd be
Yeah.
so happy.
We could.
I want
would
him
like
to
do
be
an
a Ross
episode about
Perot.
that.
He was in the Reform Party originally.
Yeah, he was,
And then
he was.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't like the Perot candidacy was like somehow he unified the far left and the far right and like fucking big business oligarchs into like they all voted for him because like he was like, I hate Bill Clinton, but I also hate Bob Dole. And they were like, oh shit, we better vote for
Admittedly,
him.
Bob Dole has a very hateable face. Hold up, give me a
That's
moment
true.
to pull up Bob
that right
Dole's
up.
face.
Pull that
This is
right
really
up.
important.
We,
This is
I
very
mean,
important.
we also already know that we
Bob
hate Bill
Dole.
Clinton. So
Yeah, obviously
not
that
so good.
that
But-
that
Right.
doesn't require like an explanation.
a
But
lot
for
of these
people
guys-
who haven't
so-
seen Bob Dole,
Right. So like
Um,
I'm saying, there's a lot of these guys who were in the Obama Senate, the first Obama Senate, right?
yeah,
Who were, from red states and were just conservative, but they
Right.
belonged to the Democratic Party because they had I mean, Obama came within 0.5% of winning Missouri, and he won Indiana, and he almost won Montana. Like, I mean, Montana is kind of a long distance goal for Democrats, if you ask me.
Mhm.
But right now, in the last couple elections, no way. Right.
Right.
The point is, like, you would have Democrats, real conservative Democrats, not just like Joe Manchin, who's like a Democrat, but he's like, I'm not going to vote for Neera Tanden because she told Bernie Sanders to like eat a dick on Twitter. Like,
Admittedly,
people-
Neera Tanden is a piece of human garbage. Let's
Wow.
just clarify for society. She is genuinely
Jonah,
bad.
You got to go back to your other.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I will do that. I will
No
do that.
worries.
I humbly apologize. Yeah, there you go.
So
Anyway,
the
what did she
situation-
do?
I mean, she just made a lot of mean tweets.
She's just a dick on Twitter, like just
Yeah,
genuinely an
I mean,
asshole.
that being said, I think there's a real opportunity for Republicans to show posters solidarity because they do post a lot, right? So, like, if Ted Cruz voted to confirm Neera in like defense of the posters creed, I think he would score a lot of
Posters
points with the
creed.
posters.
Oh my God,
Like-
yeah.
I mean, Ted Cruz looking pretty bad right now.
Ted Cruz.
Those
I mean, it is
memes are
insane to
so
me.
funny.
That there is literally not one Republican politician in Texas who seems to be doing anything about like an enormous humanitarian crisis
Yeah.
that is killing
Yeah.
hundreds of
I mean,
What's
admittedly,
up
I'm
with
not sure
that?
what he's supposed to do as a senator, right?
He can
Like,
do plenty as a senator. There's
What?
like
Yeah.
a whole laundry list of shit he can do as a senator.
what can he do as a senator?
I found a great list of the stuff that he can do right now that I'll pull up.
I'm
for
ready.
you.
Please pull it up.
I mean, you already got AOC like fundraising money.
Yeah, it's
to
literally
send to
out of state
Texas.
Democrats and like
Yeah.
people, Texas Democrats who aren't in power, like Beto, raising millions of dollars
Mm.
for this kind of stuff. But let me see if this loads.
Yeah, AOC raised like 1.1 million
Yeah, and like the
Yeah.
first
as just like
24 hours.
random bumfuck New York congresswoman. Yeah,
Yep.
which is kind of ridiculous.
yeah.
But in terms of like hard power, I don't know what hard power.
There's
Cruz
plenty of
has.
stuff he can do. There's plenty of
Okay.
stuff he can do.
What can he do?
I will find you the list here.
Because to clarify, I'm all for shitting on Ted Cruz. I just want to
Mhm.
shit on Ted Cruz for reasons that he
Yeah,
deserves
I
to
know,
be
I
shit
know,
on.
I know.
Yeah.
Let me find the list.
I guess for those of you who don't know, I don't know.
Yeah,
if
Oh
he
yeah,
you
is.
he
don't
went.
know.
I assume everyone knows
Yeah.
this. I
Yeah.
assume everyone knows this.
This
But
is from Al Franken, former
Okay.
Senator Al Franken. He says you can call FEMA and direct different kinds of help. You have your own statewide staff that you can direct, you can mobilize, you can vote for you can call emergency votes for disaster aid.
So far, all three of those things are things he could potentially have been doing from Cancun.
Well, no. Well, yes,
Yeah,
but he wasn't
could.
planning on it, clearly.
Okay, that's fair. My point is simply like
I'm not talking about the Cancun thing. I'm just saying he's doing nothing.
yeah.
And going to Cancun is bad for optics reasons, and it's bad because
It's
he
extraordinarily
abandoned his
bad for
fucking
optics.
dog in his
Yeah.
It's also
freezing
really
house.
Oh my
funny.
god,
His poor
his dog though,
Yeah,
let me
that
pull up a
dog's
picture.
so
Oh my god.
fucking cute. Yeah,
It is really cute.
it's a really
Crew's
cute dog. Extremely cute dog.
Yeah, here's his dog stuck in the house. His dog is named Snowflake.
Or Snowflake. Oh my god.
Where is fucking Snowflake? I find that. Oh my god, People Magazine's website is just pure software gore, and will not load this picture of fucking Snowflake.
Look at that pupper. Oh my god.
Yeah. Okay, open image in a new tab here.
Yeah.
No, it's from fucking. Oh my god. Okay. No thanks, people.com.
Wait, Houston,
What?
put me back because that you gotta make me the big one again.
Okay,
you gotta
wait,
make me the big
look
one
at that
again.
fucking dog.
Out
Look
of
at this,
gallery
he's
view
so
into just Jonah
cute.
view. Is that
Hang on,
not
let
the
me-
cutest pupper? Look at that pupper.
So
That
now
dog.
look what the condition of this.
Why
pupper
are you
is right
doing
now.
this? This is nonsense.
Oh, poor dog.
It's just
Poor
fucking. Look at
pupper.
this fucking dog.
Oh,
He
Poor-
left it in his freezing
Poor
house.
puppy.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
To go
like
away
Not ideal.
egregious. But
not
anyway,
ideal.
so we are talking about the Senate today ostensibly,
Okay.
and I think that there's this issue where a lot of people don't realize what senators do. Right? They vote on stuff, but they also have like
Jonah, you
real
gotta switch your
authority.
screen back.
As like they're not like the governor, right? Not that the governor of Texas is doing anything, but like senators have statewide staff they can mobilize. They can call emergency votes. They can that's another benefit of a party in theory is that if they wanted, they could get like if the Republican senators from Texas cared about Texas, they could both really pressure Mitch McConnell to start open emergency negotiations with Chuck Schumer, right? They could say we're ready to vote on emergency aid for Texas right now. So call the Senate to order and we'll get it done, right? They could do that if the Senate was actually interested in that kind of thing, right? And
But they're
Yeah.
there are many senators who probably are interested in that kind of thing, right?
Mhm.
But having this two-party system gumming up the works and having these procedural nonsense gumming up the works, it means it takes a while to do anything, even when you're trying to be in a rush, right?
Mhm.
Means that you end up with like the most effective way for politicians to do anything, right? Is to
Right.
do like what AOC is doing and raise money,
And just raising money,
right?
as
Like
an independent
as like
thing that's not
just
actually part of the
because
government. Yeah.
you have a platform,
Yeah.
right? But the goal of legislation and the goal of electing legislators
not to be Oprah.
elect these people to a platform.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not to elect these. It's to get these people to be able to pass laws and
Yeah.
pass bills that are going to help people. So, like, I mean, you there needs to be a total reorganization of Senate Rules of Order. I think there needs to be a total
Right.
reorganization of, the way laws are passed in this country, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, the presidential veto seems important, right? But
Sure.
like that's not even the problem. Like when you're a
No.
little kid, you think like, man, the veto really means we don't live in a democracy. Not at all. The fucking Senate means we don't live in a democracy. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Yeah.
biased towards small states by an enormous number of seats. We know that. That's part
Yeah.
of the
Mhm.
whole compromise between, that created the bicameral legislature in the first
Right.
place, right?
Sure.
Was originally not meant to be popularly elected. It was
Yep.
just going to be like a way to elevate your state party to the
They're
idea was,
gubernatorial appointments.
huh?
The governors appointed them, so it was like.
No, not sometimes they would be elected by the state legislature also.
Okay. Well.
Other times they would be directly appointed. But
Yeah.
like, I mean, the point is they're not like, the idea was that the like hot-headedness of the House of these like young firebrands who they assumed would be running for House would be like tempered by the wisdom of the senators.
The wisdom of the Senate, yes.
But then you like don't get
Mitch McConnell, old and wise. Admittedly, he is old. He's extraordinarily old.
He's just not that wise.
He's just not wise. Yeah.
I was watching some videos of Lindsey Graham denying being gay the other day. That made me sad.
Oh. That made you sad?
No, because like,
hilarious.
So the difference between Lindsey Graham and like Nikki Haley, right, is that like Nikki Haley and Lindsey Graham are both transgressing their principles to espouse fealty to Donald Trump and the Republican Party, right?
Sure.
Both of them have much more reasonable principles than they appear to in public, right?
Okay.
But Nikki Haley doesn't feel bad at all about doing that, but Lindsey Graham feels fucking awful about doing that. Lindsey Graham hates himself. Like, if you watch,
good. He deserves to hate himself.
He's
a bad person.
Look up Lindsey Graham's single compilation sometime.
I don't want to do that.
No, what he does is he talks about being single a lot, right? Now, all the media ask him about what's it like being single. You're the only single candidate of the campaign trail. And whenever he talks about it, just replace the word single with the word gay.
Gay.
Immediately get what's going on. He's like, I'm doing this for all the single people out there. Maybe one day, you can be president too.
Yeah.
But I'm running for you, so the single kids out there can know. He said single kids in one video. He means gay.
God.
Like this guy really wants to run as like a liberal Republican, right? Or like socially liberal Republican. He wants to run as like,
of course.
I think that we need the low taxes and low regulations, but like gay people should be celebrated, right?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
oh
like
my god, his best
case.
Lindsey Graham random interview quote. Best random Lindsey Graham interview quote is someone asked him on like the trail in 2012, I think, what he would do about like a first lady situation, right?
Okay.
And they list a bunch of people. It's like, oh, you said you would have a rotating person. He's like, oh, it could be my sister or my friends or some, like that, right?
Sure.
And which is actually kind of a creative idea. I'll give it to Lindsay on that, right? But at some point she jokes and says John McCain, the interviewer, right? Because Lindsey Graham and John McCain were famously best friends. Okay. And Lindsey Graham goes, John McCain would make a terrible first lady.
I'm so sad.
I know, poor guy.
Damn.
Oh God.
That's really funny though. Could you imagine?
And then there's another video where they play Fuck, Marry, Kill with him. And it's Fuck, Marry, Kill, like Sarah Palin, Carly Fiorina, and Hillary Clinton. And Lindsey Graham is like, I don't want to play this. And it's not a fuck. They play it in like a PG way, right? So it's date, marry, and make disappear forever.
Oh my God.
But he's either has never played this game before or he's playing dumb. And like this is a totally unreasonable thing to ask someone, by the way, in an interview.
Sure.
But
a presidential candidate, by the way.
Let alone a presidential candidate, right? So they're asking him this, and he's like, "Well, I didn't know we were doing the Mormon thing because I think he thought he was trying to like had to like marry all of them or something." Like, I mean, he said that he would go on a date with Sarah Palin so they could go hunting together. Is what he ultimately comes up with. But like, I mean, this poor guy. Oh my God.
I don't know. I don't really feel bad for him.
No, me neither. But like, it's like a real kind of study in human misery to watch this person who is ostensibly one of the most powerful people in the country, right? He's one of the 100 most powerful people in the country.
Right.
Right. And for sure.
Yeah.
And he like.
No, in his case, he is one of the 100 most powerful people in the country. He's a powerful
because he's a senior Republican, right?
He's a senior Republican. He's a powerful senator. Yeah.
But he's fucking miserable.
Right.
He derives no joy from life whatsoever. I don't know if everyone watched him the night of January 6th after the insurrection when he's talking about like breaking from Trump finally. And he would obviously be back in like, 10 hours, right?
Of course.
But like, he's like, we've been through a lot together, but it's over. I've had enough. And he's like, he talks about like the 1876 election. He's like, why are you using that as an example of history? That's not a good example. And he was like crying. He's like super sloshed, clearly. He seems kind of like vodka drunk to me. This poor guy.
I want to clarify. I don't think he was literally drunk.
No, he
The day
seems
of the
literally
Capitol.
drunk. If you watch the video again, like
I did watch the video. I don't think he was literally drunk.
let me pull this up after we have this episode. I wanna put
Figuratively
this
drunk,
together.
perhaps, but yeah.
But like, I mean, the dude is hammered. There is no two ways around it, if you ask me. But you do end up, with a life in the Senate, and you're supposed to be doing all this shit. And I guess maybe it does kind of make you miserable if fucking nothing happens the whole time. Like, I mean, like now stuff does appear to be happening. They're really trying to ram it. Like, the Senate is doing everything right now. The Senate majority, the slim Senate majority, held by the Democrats, as I predicted in the last episode.
Which I did not. I have to give you credit because I did not predict that. Yeah.
Yep. I was looking really hard at the numbers, and I would not have been surprised. I mean, I would have been surprised by a Republican vote, but I would not have been shocked. Right. But I think what happened is basically what I saw. Let me also just shameless plug my Twitter at angry@pile, where as of returns from only 2 rural counties, I made this prediction, where I said.
Wait, what's your Twitter? It's angry what?
Angry Ant Pile.
Ant pile.
Ant Pile. Where I made this prediction where I said, this was at 7:35 p.m. 35 minutes after polls closed. I think 17 minutes after we got any returns. Extremely early prediction. High overall turnout, perhaps slightly higher in Metro Atlanta. Blue gets slightly bluer, red gets slightly redder. Democrats by 0.5 to 2%, which is exactly what happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I feel pretty proud of myself for that one.
You should be an analyst.
Oh, I've been followed by Quibbles Over Coffee. That's a follow back.
You've been followed by Quibbles Over Coffee.
I didn't know he had a Twitter account.
Yeah, we do.
We know.
But
Jonah gets into a lot of trouble.
Yeah,
No.
I'm sure.
All right.
Yeah, but okay. So
I want to move. Okay. Make your point. Make your point, and then we'll. Okay.
Our slim Senate majority that we hold, the Democrats in the Senate,
right,
has been doing everything short of eliminating the filibuster.
Yeah.
To push through legislation and to really try to get Biden's agenda on the table. It's been partially working, but it hasn't been working nearly as fast or as well as it would be if they got rid of the filibuster. I think the situation in the Senate right now is obviously because of the existence of the filibuster. And This is the most functional Senate we have had in 10 years. Like, and they're not doing anything.
All right. So that leads us into our last question. The last kind of like push. The reason that we're here in the first place. What do we do about this? Like, how do we get rid of the filibuster?
How do we unfuck the Senate?
How do we unfuck the Senate? And what steps can we take to like have a working legislature? Because I feel like that's important, I feel like as a country we need a way to
We'd
like
be better off.
Yeah. If we could like do things.
Yeah.
So I guess my first question is how do like
this is the question. Ready? Fix it.
Yeah.
That's the question.
Fix it. Eddie, fix it.
Eddie, how do we fix it?
How do we fix the Senate? Well, first of all, we eliminate the filibuster. How
do we do that?
And this is kind of an unpopular opinion among the people who like want to reform the government, of which I am proudly. But I think that bicameral legislature is not a problem. Okay. I think that there is no inherent issue with having 2 chambers in Congress, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
I in fact think it's pretty good if we have 2 senators and a bunch of representatives from each state, right?
Sure.
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I think
even though some of those senators representing literally millions of people, tens of millions of people in the case of California, and others are representing like 300,000.
Once we've eliminated the Electoral College, right? Okay. Because the Electoral College makes it double unfair.
Right.
Right. It compounds the unfairness.
Okay.
Right, into the presidential race, which it shouldn't. The president is a federal election. He should be elected by a simple majority of the people. It's that simple. Right? It's not that, but the point is we live in a federated union of states, as complicated as that is and as difficult as it is sometimes to believe, right? Like, there are different laws. We follow different laws. We pay different taxes. We eat different food. We live very differently from state to state, right?
Yeah.
That's just the case. And it's okay to have this unbalanced body as long as it gets shit done. As long as it gets shit done, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think, for example, if there's a bill that only affects a particular state, that should just go through the state legislature. That kind of bill should not exist in the federal Congress, even though it does a lot, right? There's like, oh, let's get disaster relief here. Let's get the whole Congress to vote on it, and the Republicans can vote it down. Right? Like, nonsense, right?
Yeah.
There needs to be these kind of like emergency orders by state should be within the governor and within the, the state legislature.
Sure.
I think we need to, and this is not me being like a neo-Confederate. I think that the state legislatures should not be gerrymandered, right? I think that, first of all, but I think once the state legislatures are de-gerrymandered, right, there should be a real authority vested in the state legislatures to govern the state, right? And if they do something that's against federal law, they can't do that. That's the point of federal court, right?
That is what law is, yeah.
Right, yeah.
So I think that the goal of the House and the Senate should be to pass national budgets and national legislation that affects the entire country. Like marriage equality should be there should be a national bill, if not a constitutional amendment, enshrining marriage equality, right?
Sure.
And that's the kind of thing the House and Senate should do, right? The House and Senate should pass bills like, suppose there's a national anti-gerrymandering bill, right? The House and Senate should pass federal law, and they should be made up of, proportionate groups of people from across the country who can provide in the House an accurate cross-section, right? And, the Senate, the goal of the Senate by handing, a little bit more power to small states that might be disproportionately affected.
It's not a little, it's a lot more power.
I know. Maybe it should be less than even, right? But like, I don't exactly know how to do it, but like the House should have more authority relative to the Senate.
Sure,
I think the Senate should essentially exist as a regulatory body on the House that prevents it from just like, I don't know, suppose QAnon gets a majority in the House and they're like, oh, let's fucking pass the Joe Biden is a pedophile rapist act. Like,
Jewish pedophile rapist. Don't forget the Jew part. Yeah.
Well, he's also a reptile man.
Reptile is just code for Jew.
No, you're mistaken. It's Jew is a code for reptile.
Fuck. You're right.
So, but my point being that the Senate should be a place for senior lawmakers to be able to guide the House in the process of making real legislation, right? The House having 2-year terms is great for legislation. It's great because it means you get shit done, right? If you have a 6-year term, you don't have to get shit done because you don't get reelected for fucking 800 years. Like, if you have, and it's fine to have 6-year terms or 4-year terms may be better in the Senate, right? I think, I actually think 4-year terms, that there should be 2 Senate classes, one for one seat, one for the other seat, every 2 years. That's just staggered. One's in a presidential year, one's in the midterm year.
But that means that one of the senators is always going to be voted on an off election, which means that they're always going to have a smaller number of people who are voting in their
right. So
elections.
They're going to run. There should be a senior and junior senator, like, I don't know, some kind of rule of 2.
Right, but the point though is that like anyone who has like presidential aspirations is only going to want to have that one that's being voted on in the presidential.
Right. So then
election.
maybe people who want to actually run for Senate to be a good senator could have a better time running in
but
the
those ones are also going to be the ones who have lower number of people who are voting in them. If they're only going to be voted on in the off election, that means that that's a problem, right? That's a serious problem.
Make it all 2 years. I don't care. Like,
we already have senators that are like running during off years.
Yeah,
so, like,
I know. But they're because it's a 6-year, they're staggered, so they're always running in on years and off years if they're getting reelected.
That's the point.
The point is it takes 6 years is forever. 6 years is a very long time.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I think long terms, my point is long terms, like presidential length or longer terms in the Senate, right? Nothing is inherently wrong with them as long as people aren't corrupt, right? And that's a problem because people are very corrupt, right?
They are.
So
the
Senate, maybe it should be, you shouldn't be allowed to propose legislation in the Senate. The Senate should be a place for senior lawmakers, right? To offer guidance and regulate what comes out of the House, right? And
interesting.
There should be, maybe a 2/3 vote in the House overrides the Senate, or something like that.
Interesting.
Okay.
Right, and maybe the president loses the veto power and that goes to the Senate. Essentially, maybe the veto power is essentially vested in the Senate, right? By being inherently very moderated across states, because it weakens the power of big states and strengthens the power of small states by a lot, right?
Right.
And I think the purpose of the Senate should be to gate legislation coming out of the House, right?
Interesting.
Because the Senate by nature is kind of a cautious body, and that's not inherently a problem, except when it results in nothing fucking happening.
Right.
So if the House really needs to do something, you can get 2/3 of a vote, right? Because the House is not, the House is like R plus 2.5 because of gerrymandering, right?
Right.
But the Senate is like R plus 5, right? It's a much bigger problem, right?
Right.
Once, I mean, number one is we need to redistrict fairly. That's the number. Like there's three things that need to happen in this country before anything good happens, which is return of a robust civics curriculum.
Yes.
Kill
Kill Trump. Yes.
Accountability for corrupt public officials.
Let him die. I don't mean kill him. Yeah.
Accountability for corrupt public officials.
How do we do that though? Because like
you fucking arrest them.
Yeah, but like they're also in charge of like being like arresting people.
Police reform. 4 things. Police reform.
Okay.
Or police abolition or fucking whatever. I don't care. Fuck 12. Make them, like, I just think that there needs to be, gerrymandering is the last thing I was going to say.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Like, there just needs to be a revival of a robust system of government in this country that isn't just like, powerful people pulling the wool over the eyes of uneducated or like civics uneducated people in order to maintain their own power without people realizing that power is not given to them, even by the Constitution, right? Like, this is the thing that gets me, right? Like, people just kind of assume that the government's going to be bad. Government doesn't have to be bad.
Yeah.
Nowhere in the Constitution is it like the government's got to fucking suck, like, and get nothing done.
Imagine if it did. It was like we're creating this country to suck and not do anything.
That's the thing, right? The reason we have to pass amendments like the 15th Amendment, right?
Yeah.
Are because nowhere in the Constitution does it say black people can vote. And like I was saying, a couple episodes ago, the 9th Amendment should do that. In my understanding of the Constitution, right? But maybe it doesn't, right? Maybe that's not good enough for a lot of textualists, right?
Right.
So you need to pass an amendment that says women get to vote, even though. But that being said, there's nothing in the Constitution that says women don't get to vote, right?
Yeah.
And the existence of the 19th Amendment, right, that says women get to vote is important because obviously people are going to interpret these things uncharitably and say women don't get to vote, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
But
sure.
That being said, like, once we educate people, they'll realize that the problem is not really with the system. The problem is with the people in the system. And the problem is with
I don't know. I feel like yeah.
There's a reason those are the people who are in the system.
Right. There's massive problems. There's massive problems with the system and in the system and with other interconnected systems, right?
Right.
But there's nothing fundamentally wrong with the system of government laid out in the Constitution.
Sure.
Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay.
Other than the fact that it implied that slavery would continue to exist until 1808.
Right.
Like there's
Did we lose Eddie? That's such terrible news.
Oh no.
Oh my God, the lack of Eddie.
Wait for government to work.
He's back.
He's back.
Oh no.
Okay. You were gone for the last couple seconds.
Gone.
That's not good. The way the Constitution is written lays out, right, that there's a House and a Senate, and they pass legislation by bouncing it back to each other.
Right.
Obviously, this resulted in a lot of problems, but like that's not inherently a bad way to go about writing legislation, right?
I don't think so.
It lets people kind of edit each other's work, right? It's like a group project.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You have a president. You have a president who has kind of limited power, but he has authority to enforce the laws, and he can veto bad laws if the people elect him with this electoral college, which is kind of wonky, but like at least it elects people, especially back in the day when you didn't have instant returns and like a lot of ways to collect a ton of votes, right?
Right.
Like
sure.
the Electoral College, I mean, historically is enormously practical, at least until like the early 1900s, when they're, you know, like you could not have done a national popular vote back then and trusted it to be fair, right? But now you can. Now you can.
That's funny to think about, though.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, the
true,
reason
though.
the reason they moved the inauguration back from March 4th to January 20th was not because it like shortened the lame duck period. That was an added benefit, right?
Yeah.
It was because they no longer needed to wait that long to fucking count all the votes.
Yeah.
Because they had better technology, right? Like they had slide rules and shit they could now use to count votes. Like and fucking abacuses, I don't know.
The
like,
horses became faster. Yes.
I mean, they didn't. Well, they had cars now, and they had carriages and things. Like,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, and better roads, right? Like, I mean,
mostly trains. It's mostly trains.
When you
trains
look at the
are
Constitution in terms of this is meant to run a country in the fucking 1700s before we got rid of smallpox. Like, this is fine.
It's good.
Works, right? And
the
document not only works but is flexible enough, right? To allow people to continue, you know, tinkering with it and just to meld itself to the times without even having to be tinkered with that much. Right. The problem is
we kind of just don't do that
across history. These bad faith actors, right, who are trying to argue that the Constitution as written not only implies different things than it actually implies, right? Like the people who say the Constitution implies women shouldn't be able to vote. Where in the Constitution does it say women shouldn't be able to vote? Where in the Constitution does it say that men should be able to vote? It could be that the frame, and obviously this is not true, right? But there's nothing, if you were to read the Constitution in a vacuum without knowing anything about the historical context, which is obviously kind of a disingenuous reading of the Constitution, right?
Yeah.
But if you had to read the Constitution without any context, there's nothing in it that doesn't say women shouldn't be the only ones who get to vote. Right. Nothing saying that black people shouldn't be the only people who get to vote. Fuck off, white people. Like
the fucking whites. Yeah.
Right. So the reason you come up with these amendments later, I think there's two kinds of amendments. There are kinds of amendments like the 27th Amendment, which is Congress can't decide its own paychecks, basically. That exist to curb powers that may have been too powerful in the Constitution or to give new powers for a new time, right? I don't know, like prohibition is a new law. That was a constitutional amendment, right? It's like, you know, it was repealed later, but it was a constitutional amendment at the time because definitely the Constitution does not imply that people shouldn't be able to drink. Like, but like you can do that with an amendment, right? But you can also expand or contract the Constitution, but there's also amendments like the 15th Amendment and the 19th Amendment, right?
Yeah.
Which are, in my view, clarifying amendments that kind of write down rights or powers that are probably already in the Constitution from like a con law perspective, right? Because of the Ninth Amendment and because of the Ninth Amendment, right? Like if you're to look at the Constitution as written with the Ninth Amendment, with the Bill of Rights, it's like, well, wait a second, right? The existence of some rights shall not curb other rights. So how can you say that laws saying people get to vote mean women or black people don't get to vote or indigenous people don't get to vote, right? That doesn't make sense. That runs counter to the Ninth Amendment. If we had an intellectually honest Supreme Court and somebody thought to bring those lawsuits during that time period, they should have enshrined voting for black people in the laws, right?
Yeah, but we did not have intellectually honest constitutional lawyers on the Supreme
So,
Court who were going to be like,
point
oh
is-
yeah.
My point is, right? There are problems with the system, right? But there are significantly bigger problems with just the nature of power and human fallibility and things like that, the nature of government, right? So when you construct a system of government that gives anybody power, which all systems of government, unless you want to have a government run by an AI, do, right?
Clarify, I do not want an AI to control.
Now, that being said, I think that the Skynet Amendment really has legs.
Oh my god.
No, but you know, point being, there are issues with the Constitution. There are issues with, you know, the people in charge. There are issues with the system, right? But these are not irreparable issues. These are not issues that can't be resolved within the Constitution.
Yeah.
Many of these issues have already been resolved. The fact that we just stopped resolving them over the last 50 years is a fucking disaster, because people got like, so as soon as Jimmy Carter became president, Jimmy Carter's like, all right, guys, you need to make some small personal sacrifices so your neighbor can fucking eat.
And everyone was just like, no.
Fuck you, Jimmy Carter. Go back to building houses for Habitat for Humanity.
Yeah.
Like, Jimmy, I mean, it really says something that not only, I mean, it says something on the one hand that Jimmy Carter is like the only president besides Herbert Hoover to completely devote himself to humanitarian work once leaving office, right? But on the other hand, it
Herbert
also
Hoover
says
does not get credit. I want to clarify.
Well,
if you're trying to give credit to Herbert Hoover,
as a
fuck
president,
off.
he was a shitty. No, he was a shitty, horrible president.
Okay,
right?
cool.
But he donated a lot of money to Belgian war orphans and stuff like that. He was genuinely dedicated to that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But
sure.
it says more that Jimmy Carter. It says that a lot that Jimmy Carter became a public servant after leaving office, and nobody else did. But it also says a lot that Jimmy Carter, after leaving office, became a fucking hell of a public servant. All he does is like he's fucking 96 and he's going around and building houses.
Still building shit. Yeah.
Like the dude is a fucking legend. Like,
oh yeah, he's insane.
But you know, that being said, once you get like the Carter administration, right? Telling people, all right, so our energy policy is going to be that you have to not take a fucking extra joy drive on Sundays to conserve gas. Everyone's like, fuck you. I'm not gonna do that. Right. So you now have the system where the government doesn't trust the people to hold up their end of the social contract. The people don't trust the government to hold up their end of the social contract.
And both of them are right.
And both of them are right. Both of them are right.
Yeah.
The way to fix that is a civics curriculum. Yeah. Because if you learn about the goddamn social contract, you're like, wait a second, why am I doing this? I suck. Like,
yeah.
It doesn't immediately fix anything. It doesn't immediately fix everything. But
all right.
So the lessons learned, the takeaway is that Eddie needs to become a history professor, and he needs to teach a bunch of high school kids, and then America will no longer suck. Maybe. That's the takeaway.
That'd be fun.
I mean, I think the takeaway is that we have to do this, but like more of it, you know?
Oh yeah. Like, the other takeaway is that everyone in America needs to like and subscribe to People's Over Coffee. That's the other. That's the other one. Yeah.
But like also just like, but talk to people about it. You know, I feel like, I mean, we can talk about this in a different episode, but people are so afraid to talk about politics. I think that it's changed recently, but just like explain shit, because that will help you understand things, you know? like the more that you talk about, because like the more you talk about it, the better understanding you get, and then other people understand, and then they can go and talk to it about other people. And so you're just kind of we have to educate the adults and the kids, but like,
and the kiddos,
right? But like the adults are running it now and they don't understand what's going on, so we have to like explain to the adults what's going on, which is frustrating. But
so if you're an adult,
like
and subscribe, and if you're a child, also like and subscribe.
Right.
Do you have other things to say? I think that's basically it.
Yeah, I think that's it, because then we can, once we know, we can get rid of gerrymandering because we don't need it anymore, and then the rest of it will come into place.
All right.
So
I think so.
Cool.
Before we end the video, I have to ask, Eddie.
Yeah.
This entire interview, you have been in the dark.
Oh, I should turn the light on, but it's like there's a lot of natural light that it doesn't seem like to you that there is, but like you can see here, I've got natural light.
You have the shades down. It's the middle of the day, and it's like pitch black in your room.
Yeah, I was wondering.
I'm not in my room. I'm in the living room.
Oh, okay.
Okay, in the living room. Fine. It's pitch black in the living room.
Pitch black. Here is the do not enter sign that somebody stole many years ago and put in my house.
Nice.
There's a detour sign up there that somebody stole.
I like how you just say somebody there. So therefore, no one can get in trouble with the law because
I don't know who.
No
I
one
legitimately don't know. These signs are just all over my house.
They're just here. Huh. Yeah. Who knows who possibly could have taken them? Yeah. Interesting. All right.
Well, we'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and follow Eddie at Angry Antpile on Twitter.
Cool. That's the most important thing you can do, actually, to fix this country.
Goodbye, people.